Hello aspirants, welcome to another session of the daily newspaper analysis. This video is brought to you by the Gurudev Academy. My name is Ashwin. Friends, the answers for the last video will be available in the comment section. So moving ahead, these are the topics that we are going to look at. Firstly, we are looking at this editorial that has come up. This editorial talks about the public investments. See, firstly, you have to understand what is the importance of public investment and what do we mean by public investment. Here, the type of investments in infrastructure and the industries, there are two types. That is one, the public investment as well as the private investment. Private investment is mainly done by the private sector here, mainly for the gains. Okay, whatever the private sector investment is doing, mainly it is doing for the profit. But when we look at public investment here that is done by the government, mainly it is done to provide resources for the people here. Okay, the intention of public investment is not to make profit but to provide important resources for its citizens. So the government here is trying to increase the public investment in the overall gross investment that is being done in this country. So when this public investment is done, there are two implications. When it is increased, there are two implications. Firstly, crowding in. See, what is generally happening is, if the public investment increases, then the private investment will start decreasing. Okay, they can invest it more. The private investors here can invest it in more productive areas. The public investment, which is talking about crowding in, it is talking about investing in those infrastructure projects which are mainly run by the private sector, and the private sector right now is not able to invest much because of the drying up of funds, not only in the domestic areas like in our country where the banks don't have enough money, but also we are seeing the rise of inflation, and due to the rise of inflation all over the world, the private investment that was happening in India, it is taking its flight back to US. Okay, so we have seen that in previous video how the private investment is going back. So just look at the previous video. Then once the public investment is increased, it increases the employment rate. Here the editor has taken the example of two important projects that was run during the 1997 when India was facing a serious economic crisis. Two important projects like the Golden Quadrilateral as well as Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. See, such projects, what happens is that not only the project help in building a good infrastructure, they also help to increase the overall employment rate. When the overall employment rate increases, then the wages are increased, and by wages increase, what will happen is there is more spending in the economy, the GDP will increase. Okay, the gross domestic product will increase. This will also help in bringing down the inflation in one way. Okay, so these are the two implications here. Nextly, the editor here talks about another important concept, that is gross fixed capital formation. You have to firstly understand what gross fixed capital formation is. So gross fixed capital formation here, it talks about increase in the physical asset. Like we already have a certain investment here, that is $50 billion. Okay, it is our investment in one project. Okay, consider road. Okay, in road we have invested 50 billion project. So the gross capital formation here is not just a 50 billion, but it is the increase here. Like if there is an increase of 60 billion in road project, then the total gross capital formation here will be 10 billion. Okay, so please keep it in mind. GC, that GFC as F, that is gross factor capital formation that we talk about, it is not about the already existing fixed asset, but it is increase in the fixed asset here. Then the editor here gives us some data like overall, okay, the public sector GCF has remained stagnant around 20%. Very important concern, because the public sector investment has to increase in the overall projects that are taking place in our country. Then the editor also talks about GCF by sector, that is your gross capital formation by sector. There are three main sectors when we look at: agriculture, industry and services. Except services, okay, except services, and both the sectors, that in agriculture and industry, there has been decrease in the gross capital formation. This is the area of concern. And also when we look at services, okay, in the gross capital formation has mainly increasing in two main areas, that is your transport as well as communication. See, transport and communication are conventional areas. Like conventional, I mean by that over the years, during the past as well, mainly the public infrastructure that were built, the public investment that the government was doing, mainly was doing in this transport sector, that is building of quality roads as well as in communication. The editor here says that there has to be a balance, okay? There has to be a proper balance between directly productive investments as well as infrastructure investments here. That we mean that the whatever investments we are trying to do, it also has to be balanced with the direct productive investments here. Then when we look at the manufacturing sector, see, manufacturing sector is very important sector for India, because since India is a heavy import dependent country, what is happening is most of the manufacturing goods, when we import it from abroad, what is happening is it is exerting a lot of pressure on our balance of payment. Already there is a balance of payment of 2.5% of the GDP. Okay, this may sound like a small number for you all, but it is a very huge number given how our GDP is performing right now. Imagine if the overall GDP rate is around 7%. Okay, in that 7%, if 2.5% is just going for your external loans and external imports that you are going to pay, then very less is remaining for your public investment. Very less is remaining to handle all the internal finances that the government has to do. So this is a very serious concern again. But when we look at the manufacturing sector here, the GCF again has been decreasing here. Okay, from 19% in 2012, it has decreased to 16.5%. This is the area of concern. What are the implications because of this? The implication because of this has been the failure of Make in India. Okay, the Make in India project was mainly brought in to increase the investment in domestic sectors as well as to increase the production rate. But since the manufacturing, as we saw, okay, the gross capital formation has been decreasing, the additional investments has been decreasing, so the failure of Make in India here. Secondly, import dependence has increased. Again, this is the result of your decrease in the manufacturing sector GCF. Okay, the investments are decreasing, the production levels are decreasing. That is why the import dependence has increased. Then these two have led to India's deindustrialization. We saw one type of deindustrialization that happened during the British era, when raw cotton, okay, the byproduct, the raw cotton was brought in India, and here the mainly manufacturing was being done in the areas of Bombay and Surat. But deindustrialization here, we mean that all the other major sectors that were thriving before the arrival of British were destroyed. Similarly, the author here says that because of the factors of failure of Make in India, the failure of Make in India, well, another important thing is that it failed to boost industrial investments and foreign investments. The foreign investments, okay, that is also has decreased in our industrial sector. It has decreased from 3.8 to 2.5%. So all these factors, okay, have led to India's deindustrialization. Another problem that has been happening is China. Okay, we are so much dependent on China when it comes to import of bulk drugs. Okay, bulk drugs are the raw materials for the formation of any drugs. Okay, then import of steel. Okay, so all these imports that we were getting, the China had put import restrictions during the time of COVID. Then the Prime Minister announced a scheme called as Atmanirbhar Bharat. Atmanirbhar Bharat again wanted to increase the industrial production in India and not to be import dependent. Again, when we look at it, this plan has also been failing. So overall, okay, when we look at it during the present time, when there is a lot of inflation that is happening, when there is a lot of food crisis that is taking place all over the world, when the US reserves, the Federal Reserves are increasing the rates, and there has been a flight of FDI and FII from our country to US. So when we look at all of the factors and the recent announcement by the government to increase the public finances, to increase the public expenditure is a welcome step. So we look ahead how this works out for the government. Okay. Then we look at this another editorial that has come up. This is about adding digital layer to indignity. Firstly, here the author talks about right to live. Okay, right to live with dignity. This comes under your Article 21. Okay, Article 21 guarantees not just right to life, but also it guarantees right to live with dignity. Well, then the author talks about centralized data board here. So centralized data board is being mainly used to collect data about work hours, about the wage payment, okay, about the developmental work that has been taking place. But when we look at the central data dashboard, it has been relegating. Relegating, we mean eliminating. Okay, eliminating human dignity and hardships. Like here, when the author talks about it, he follows with another example here, where a old age person is not able to access his pensions, his wages, because his biometrics are not being identified by the system here. See, when such things take place, what is happening is the technical glitches that are taking place in the system here. What happens is it denies access of rights to a worker. It denies access of right to a proper workforce which has been worked hard for earn those wages. Fine. Then at the end, what is being made here? It is being made that right holders are responsible. When I gave the example that a person is not able to access his wages because his biometrics are not being identified by the system, the overall response of the supervisor here, or the person who has to give the wages, will be that it is the right holder's responsibility to have a proper biometric. See, such condition, what happens is it is not it is something insulting, it is inhuman, that gives rise to dehumanization. So what is exactly dehumanization? Dehumanization means rate others less evolved. See, such problems that we are facing, that the problem of indignity that is being faced mainly by the rural areas. And when we looked at the previous example, here the supervisor told the man that you are not able to access your wages because your biometric is not being identified. This shows that this shows that the person is less evolved. Okay, so such types of problems are not being addressed when we look at the central data repository. Here the author takes two examples of ICDS and MNREGA. I'll just take ICDS first, and then, so ICDS was a program. Okay, it was a program that was launched in 1975. It guaranteed supplementary nutrition. For the age group of 0 to 6 years. It also for lactating mothers as well as pregnant women. Okay. Later on in 2001. Okay. Sorry. Later on in under your National Food Security Act of 2013, the supplementary nutrition that were given, it became a legal entitlement. Legal entitlement means anyone could claim this legally. Okay, the supplementary nutrition that was given, they could claim it legally. Then in 2021, the present government came out with something called as Poshan Tracker. Okay, this Poshan Tracker was mainly devised for ICDS. Okay, here under Poshan Tracker, it was tracked as how much of nutrition is being given, what kind of nutrition is being given, who are the beneficiaries. Okay, it was mainly to cut down the corruption that was happening in the system when it comes to ICDS. Okay, that is your Integrated Child Development Scheme. Then the Poshan Tracker came out with one rule, that is the Aadhaar. Okay, that is every ICDS rights holder, whoever is taking the beneficiaries, they have to register with the Aadhaar card. The Aadhaar card become compulsory here. But 3/4 of the age group of 0.5 years don't have Aadhaar. And also the Supreme Court has said that those who do not have Aadhaar cannot be denied any facilities under any schemes. Then the government came out and say that only the mothers are to be registered with the Anganwadis with their Aadhaar cards. Okay, but again there is a problem here. Why? Because what happens if that mother is not able to register herself with the Aadhaar biometrics? Okay, so when such issues are happening, when there is regular glitches that are happening in the system, it is not it is a very inhuman condition for anyone to face. Fine. Because of the COVID that happened, and according to the NFHS data, that is your National Family Health Survey data, 36% of children are stunted and 1/3 of them are underweight. Okay, and also when we look at the overall case that has been given in this article, it shows that what will be the condition of the migrants as well. Fine. So when such glitches are being happening, just taking care of these glitches is not enough. There is the alternative way for this, something called as social audit. Okay. Social audit are more responsible, because under social audit, not only your data is being collected regarding your workforce or anything, but also it collects the data here regarding your social welfare. It can take care of your present conditions. Okay, so social audit is one of the remedy that the author has suggested. Please read the article. It has been given in a simple terms. I am not doing this Manrega scheme. It talks about national mobility mobile monitoring services, where the makers have to register the work hours and take daily photos of the workers twice a day, and this is affecting the workers conditions because they are not able to go somewhere and work for the additional income. They are not able to take care of their household. When it comes to makers, the makers don't have the access to smartphones. The makers have to take a loan to have a smartphone. Okay, so such are the issues that are given in that article. So please read about it overall. Okay, overall, when we look at it, what the author is trying to say is that this technology, okay, the use of technology is good because it can avoid corruption. Okay, it can make the process very fast. But the overall crux of the article is that it is ignoring the human conditions of these workers. It is not looking into what the actual conditions of these workers are and how much they have to struggle for their own wages. Fine. So this is the overall picture of the article. Just read the article. It is in simple terms. Moving ahead. So this 5G spectrum auction will begin from tomorrow. So firstly, we look at what the 5G is. We will begin with first 1G. Okay, the 1G was started in 1997. So here it was giving only basic voice services. Okay, whatever the voice services that was present here, it was analog based. Okay, analog based. When we look at 2G that was launched in 1998, that the mobile, okay, this voice service plus SMS service. Okay, that is your messaging services was made available under 2G services. The coverage also improved here. When we look at 3G, okay, 2001, it was launched in 2001. 3G has voice plus data, the H plus, okay, HPRS that you used to see, that was your 3G. 3G came with voice plus data. It was the first time that the mobile phones were able to access internet here. Then 4G. 4G is your voice over data. Okay, voice over data. The WhatsApp calls and all that is available right now, it is voice over data. You can make phone calls using data, using your internet. That is the significance of 4G here. When we look at 5G, 5G aims at infinite data broadcast. Okay, by the use of spectrums, by the use of fiber connections, the 5G will be supplied to every household with infinite data connections. Okay, the infinite data connections, as we see the use of fibers that we are doing, it is providing you with infinite data connections only. Okay, so here again 5G will be improving your data. Now, when we look at what spectrum auction is, we have to know the basics of spectrum auction. See, the cell phones, okay, they have to connect over the other cell phones using signals. These signals are mainly in the form of airwaves. Okay, airwaves is a medium of radio waves. Medium of radio waves. Okay, why do we use radio waves here? Radio waves, how do we use radio waves? Radio waves are used in frequencies. Okay, different frequencies. Like when we read the article here, okay, there are different frequencies being mentioned. Okay, like the option that is going to happen right now, this will start with the minimum of 600 megahertz, and along with it the maximum is 26 gigahertz. These are different frequencies. Different frequencies avoid disturbances, like the like we have different disturbances, like suddenly the phone call may get disconnected. Okay, so such type of disturbances will be less when we go at higher frequencies. What is the government of India doing here? See, the government of India is the owner of every natural resources in this country. It also includes the airwaves. Okay, it also includes the airwaves. So the government here is auctioning the airwaves. Okay, it is not auctioning your data here. It is auctioning the airwaves that are present in our country. Then in the form of spectrum. Okay, this spectrum is a band of different frequencies. Okay, it is a band of different frequencies again, that as we saw, this the whole spectrum. Okay, the spectrum is of 76 gigahertz. The whole spectrum of 5G that is available in India is 72 gigahertz. These 72 gigahertz is being divided in different band of frequencies and it is being auctioned. Okay, that is the overall picture. Few things you have to know here, that the spectrum that is being sold, it will be available for 20 years. Very important. The validity period of the spectrum will be 20 years, as well as the 5G services will be 10 times at the speed of 4G. Okay, whatever the 4G network we are getting, it will be 10 times more that we are getting in 5G. Understand, 20 years and 10 times. Exam perspective, these two are very important. Okay. Coming to the last article, the government here talks about wind power rates may bottom up. See, I'm not going to go into the detail of the article. I'm just going to explain you what reverse auction is, because the government has decided to stop reverse auction. Fine. Firstly, the normal auction. What happens in normal auction? The normal auction happens that there are bidders for a product. Okay. If there is some product, like consider a biscuit. Okay. And there are bidders for this product. Then what happens is the highest bidder, whoever bids high, will get this product. Okay, that is your normal bidding. But what happens in reverse bidding? In reverse bidding, sellers are the bidders. Okay, the sellers will be selling their product, like renewable energy. The case has been of renewable energy. Okay, renewable energy. Previously, the reverse auction firstly was introduced in the electricity, solar energy. Okay, solar energy. So what was happening in reverse auction when it comes to renewable energy was the person, like the farmers. Okay, farmers, whoever was producing electricity at lower prices. Okay, consider if I, as a farmer, I am producing electricity at 1 rupee and the other person is producing electricity at 2 rupee per unit, then I used to get the bids. Okay, so in reverse auction, the sellers are the bidders, not the buyers. The sellers are the bidders, and always the lowest bidder gets this product. Okay, the lowest bidder, whoever bids the lowest price, will get the product here. The government is trying to cancel out this reverse auction because the prices of wind farms and wind electricity has been decreasing. It has been decreased a lot. The government is seeing it not beneficial, not profitable. That is why the government is taking out this reverse auction. Please look at these points, like India is committed to install 60,000 megawatt of wind power projects by 2022. Okay, so such data are very important. The article again is in a simple term. I just wanted to introduce, I just wanted to make it clear what reverse auction is. So that's it. That's it from today's video. Before we end, I have something to tell. See, my intention here is not to explain everything in detail. My intention here is to make you read the editorial. So that is why the editorials that we are doing are mainly I'm concentrating on the concepts which are hard to understand, the economic concepts or your other related concepts. So it is your duty to read the complete article. I'm just trying to make it easy for you all. Fine. So you can follow us on these social media handles. You can follow us on YouTube, Telegram, Instagram, as well as on Facebook. See you all.